Welcome everyone. Thank you for coming to welcome Stu Fabe yet again, writing another wonderful book. I haven't read it yet, but I'm sure it's good. I mean, have they ever been bad?
No.
Okay.
I don't know, Vicki, have they ever been that?
They never have.
See? So, help me welcome him in discussing moments in time.
Woohoo, Stu!
Well, thank you all for coming out. I mean, where's the doctor?
He had a terrible day because it was his first day back after 2 weeks off.
Oh.
And
He was slammed.
like he was supposed to be home at noon and he went home at 12:38 for lunch. And I just called him and he just said, I'm just gonna run and get some cheese and run back.
Oh my.
So he's just got slammed today, but he may still try to come. He remembered. I mean,
If I were him, I'd stay away and just get
he
horizontal.
really wanted to come. We talked about it last night and he said, yeah, I really want to do that. And I think he thought he'd be able to. And I think he just got really slammed today.
Yeah. Well, thanks for
He
coming.
doesn't do that well, like at his age with a lot of people at one time.
Well, I'm thrilled that you're here. So thank you very much for all of you for coming. And the library, Hope and Company always treat me very, very generously, very nicely, and it's appreciated. So Moments in Time. It's my 11th novel in about 12 years. Okay. They're less violent than they used to be, Vicki. And I'm really excited about this book because, well, I'm not getting any younger. Can you hear me, Joanne?
Yes.
Okay. And I wanted this book to be a little bit more autobiographical, but the thought of reading a whole book about Stu Fabe is, I don't know. So my heroine is an elf maiden. She's hundreds of years old, and she runs an auction firm in beautiful downtown Greencastle. So it's a combination of her, and her name is Kat Landrigan, and this camera collector, and because I collect cameras like that over there, and I just decided it was time to do something that was maybe a little bit more autobiographical, and so you got to put up with my baloney about me for a little bit here. And anyway, sometimes people ask me from time to time, where do I get my inspirations from? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. And I'll never forget listening to an interview by the novelist James Patterson, who knows a little bit about writing, right? And people asked him where he got his inspirations from, and he said, what do you mean? You just kind of pluck them out of the ether and, from your experiences and whatever. And honestly, that's what I do. This past year was a very interesting year for me in that I sold some cameras through an auction firm in Cincinnati that I've known of for a long time because I'm originally from Cincinnati. And the woman that I worked with there had elfin features. She was trim, she was petite. No, she didn't have pointed ears or anything like that, but she looked like an elf to me. And and her name was Katie, and her maiden name was Landrigan. So I made my heroine Kat Landrigan, and she runs an auction firm in beautiful downtown Greencastle. Okay, so I pull these things out of the ether, and I was selling cameras. Last September, I went to Hartford, Connecticut for a symposium on very, very early photography, and it was a great time. But there was a curator there that was really a bit of a prick. So I made him the villain, okay? He doesn't know it, and don't tell him. But I made him the villain, and then, I just took it from there. I knew that I took it from there, And what I'd like to do, let me see what I got going on here. It's not a memoir. It's a work of fiction with some facts thrown in just because. But it was designed to reflect where I am in my life at age 77, yeah. But in order to make it more interesting, I wanted to have the elfin heroine, Kat, just to keep the pages turning and essentially, I write for myself, for my own entertainment, my own amusement. If other people like it, that's great. If not, I don't want to hear about it. You know. But that's where I'm coming from, and I was telling Travis a couple of minutes ago. I never planned to be a writer, but I don't know. Greg, did you ever plan to write music?
No.
Just kind of comes out, doesn't it? Yeah. Okay. By the way, these two are in my book. Kara, are you scared? Yeah, I catch him making out in his front yard is what I catch. Doc scene is in the book. Probably around pages, I don't know, 89 to 92, somewhere. Who else is in the book? Marla's in the book.
Of course.
Does everybody know Marla?
Of course Marla is in the book.
Of course we do.
Okay, all right. And there are probably no fewer than 20 people and places in our community that are mentioned in the story. And the last 4 books, including this one, I've got my other 3 previous ones right here. They're all set in Greencastle. And the reason for that is 2 reasons. I know the community, and because of people like you. Because I want folks to be able to enjoy reading about something and say, oh, I know where, Waterworks Hill is, or I know where Doc's Inn is, or the Whisk or the Swizz or whatever. And so I do it just because I'm not worried about a big audience. I don't think that's going to happen, which is fine. But I like it when I have friends and neighbors that I can point to. Okay. So I thought what I would do is introduce a couple of characters. Do you mind if I read for a little bit? Okay.
Go ahead.
Beginning with chapter 1 is an introduction to Kat Landrigan, my elf maiden who runs the auction house. All right. And this is present day along Big Walnut Creek near Greencastle, Indiana. Okay. I awake early in my woodland cabin by Big Walnut Creek and peer around the still dark interior of my cozy bedroom. I breathe in the moist air wafting off the creek some 60 feet away and know that soon the month of September will give way to fleeting, colorful leaves and hoarfrost on the surfaces of my sylvan world. As I lie quietly, I notice light entering a knothole in an outside wall, casting an inverted image of a pine tree on the opposite bedroom wall. Ah, the camera obscura effect, I murmur to myself, recalling what I learned long ago about the nature of light in another time and place. I smile as the projected scene from outside brightly shimmers and sways, no sound, just a delightful light-born image greeting me as dawn continues to brighten into daylight, stretching to the treetops, heralding the beginning of a new day. I wonder what today will bring Kat Landrigan, I muse to myself out aloud as I pull the bed covers off and set foot on the cool wooden planks. A moment later, my frisky rabbit friend Clover hops into the room, his curious eyes and twitching nose picking up scents of the outside world. Yes, I wonder indeed, Clover, but we sure can't find out laying around inside now, can we? And besides, we have to get ready for work. Why don't we take a brief walk along the creek before I have to leave for the office, okay? I pull out a tartan skirt and a light woolen top that I'll wear for work. But right now I slip into my skinny jeans, flannel shirt, and well-worn walking shoes for my brief jaunt outside. I light a fire in my wood stove and fill the coffee maker with water and beans. Come on, Clover, let's step lively now. We can't dawdle. Got a lot to do today to get ready for our next auction. You know, organizing, cataloging, and photographing the next lots for our early November sale. But first, let's see what the outside world has to offer us on this glorious morning. Clover is accustomed to our morning routine and bounds out the door onto the fieldstone pavers. The warm sunlight greets us both, and I throw a quick glance at the pine tree, whose inverted camera obscura visage I spotted on my back bedroom wall just a few minutes ago. Good morning, Sir Tree. It's good to see you looking properly aligned instead of upside down and backward. As if in reply, the tree's limbs and needles sway rhythmically, dropping a few pine cones and nuts as gifts along the path. Clover hops beneath the tree and helps himself to a few tasty pine nuts lying on a soft layer of pine needles. Then together we set off for the path along the creek's edge in a spirited way to launch our day. The soil underfoot is soft and loamy, making for very comfortable walking, and even though the sun has risen, Big Walnut Creek still holds foggy wisps in the shadowy areas near the first bend of the creek. We come to our customary stopping point by a large flat rock and close our eyes, allowing our other senses to smell, hear, feel, even taste the welcoming energy of this hallowed ground. Clover leans his furry gray flank against my leg, and together we are transcended to other times and places, each with our own memories, each with our own histories. I reach down and lightly scratch behind Clover's ear. He purrs like a cat and leans even closer. Do you ever think about the olden days, Clover, when we were much younger and I was growing into my elfin ways? I'm so lucky to have you as my spirit animal. You're such a treasured friend. Clover purrs even louder and burrows his head inside a pocket. Let's see if Miranda joins us today, Clover. Sometimes she does, sometimes she's off in her own world. A few moments later, a blue heron is rousted from its perch, and a lovely buff-colored doe steps out of the brush and stands on the path before them. Her dark eyes sparkling and her white tail flickering in recognition and trust. Ah, there you are, sweet friend. Clover and I were hoping you'd join us this morning. Miranda snorts softly and walks to greet us by the big rock along the creek's edge. Together, the three of us close our eyes, and for a time, each of us is transported to private, personal places, worlds apart, and yet co-joined through elfin magic. Mindful moments pass, and Miranda snuffles softly, giving brief, playful nuzzles to Clover and a gentle headbutt to me before spinning around and disappearing into the safety of the verdant brush. I love it when she does that, Clover. I love that we three are companions and can share our personal moments in time. I look at my watch, aware that my coffee is ready on the wood stove, but I'm not quite eager to return to the world of now. Instead, I choose to sit on the flat, large rock with Clover by my side, watching Big Walnut Creek drift by, carrying flotsam, along with my memories of times past, of people loved and lost, of dreams fulfilled and unfulfilled. Clover and I make contact, as we have for many years now, and he jumps onto my lap to reassure me that the way I spend my waking hours these days continues to have meaning. I guess I'm ready if you are, my friend, I softly say. But instead of immediately rising, I lean back on the smooth stone, glancing upward through the trees, seeing faces and shapes in the clouds, thinking of my youth centuries ago among my elf clan, understanding that my existence in the here and now has purpose, that I am the holder and purveyor of stories, and that my work at the venerable Wesley auction house in downtown Greencastle goes far beyond the selling of attractive artifacts. It provides me with portals to the past. Several minutes pass and Clover leaps from my lap and stands on the path leading home. I know it's time to go. Thanks for keeping me on task, Clover. I know I have obligations to keep and much work to do before I sleep. I rise and the two of us amble side by side back to my cabin, back to my waiting cup of coffee, and a full day ahead, clad in a bright tartan skirt and a light woolen top. So that's my introduction for Kat Landrigan. And, thank you. It's a very personal kind of thing for me, because trying to take Katie Horseman, who was Kat, and transform her from the figure I know in Cincinnati into a fictional character. Well, it's an exercise, and it's I don't know how to describe it other than I just like being able to take something that is known in one part of my brain and treat it in a totally different way, you know. You get it, you know, when you play music. You get it when you play music. You know, it's not just a matter of playing the score as it's written on the page. It's putting your own personal touch to it, your own sensibilities. So that's Kat. And then, Marla, are you still awake? She's heard this so many times. She's the love of my life, but one of the things she hates the most is listening to me read from my books. Is that okay? I'll pay for that. Now I'm going to chapter 3. And this is about my alter ego, Nathan Andrews. He's this really, really good-looking writer and photographer who collects cameras and lives in, never mind. He lives in Greencastle. I have a feeling that Micah can appreciate, you know, just doing a little bit of self-advertising. Is that okay?
That's perfect.
Eric, you know nothing about self-advertising, do you?
Nothing.
Does everybody know Eric? Does everybody know Michael Lane? Great musicians, and equally great musicians right here, Greg and Kara. Okay. All right. So this is in the countryside near Greencastle, Indiana. Can you hear me okay, Joanne? My name is Nathan Andrews, and after some 70 years on planet Earth, I've experienced a few different lives. I've worked, wandered, created art, written novels, loved people, messed up, tried again, sometimes gracefully, sometimes not. Now I sit here in my home office surrounded by my books, photographs, and all the quiet that comes with getting older. And I find myself thinking back, not with heavy regret, but with a kind of clear-eyed honesty. I can see the times I lived up to who I wanted to be, and the times I missed the mark. I've come to think that reflecting on life is a lot like investing in the stock market. We're happy to tell stories about the high points, the wins, the lucky breaks, but the losses, well, those usually get tucked away. We protect our soft spots. But getting older has a way of cutting through the noise. The truth is, I hear the footsteps of time. They're not loud or frightening, just steady, and they tell me it's time to reflect and prepare. If you walked into this room, you'd see pieces of the road I've traveled. My novels built one thoughtful page at a time, photographs that hold moments, paintings and family keepsakes, then yes, the old cameras, about 50 of them from the 19th century. Beautiful old devices made of wood, brass, and glass. Objects from a time when capturing an appealing image required good subject matter, knowledge of photochemistry, good lighting, and a bit of good fortune. It's the camera collection I think about most these days. When I was young, I collected modest pieces, nothing super rare, just interesting, well-made antique cameras I could afford. Later, when I retired from my years of non-profit fundraising in Cincinnati and moved to the country, I sold that first collection to help build our art studio, which is now Marla's yoga studio. I figured that chapter in my life was over, but these beautiful objects had a way of calling me back. It was like this guy right here. So yes, I started collecting again, but this time it was different. I gave myself permission to spend serious dollars on cameras that always fascinated me, cameras that I'd only seen in books and museums. Honestly, I don't feel like I've just acquired things. I'm not a hoarder. I've been committed to preserving items that are historically important. And with some patience, research, and by building relationships with like-minded collectors, I've acquired cameras with great provenance, pieces that matter historically, with stories behind them. Over time, the collection has become rather unique, featuring extremely rare daguerreotype cameras, wet plate cameras, multi-lens cameras, view cameras, detective-style cameras, and very early film cameras. And unlike some collectors who privately do hoard their treasures, I've shared mine on my website through talks and PowerPoint presentations, and with fellow enthusiasts around the world. It's been a very rewarding experience. And now, as I sit here among these beautiful instruments of light and memory, I really like that, light and memory, I don't feel the hubris of ownership so much as the responsibility of being their respectful steward for a while. Things move through our lives, and we move through theirs. The question isn't what we keep, it's what we share and pass on. As I sit at my desk in my home office, I slowly swivel around, looking at each camera situated on shelves or on tables. My first reaction is, geez, I really need to dust these things someday. And then I consider each camera on its merits, its overall appearance and condition, who made it, its year of manufacture, its historical significance, and what attracted me to the camera in the first place. Along the way, I've collected pieces using 3 guidelines: rarity, condition, and price. In recent months, and with another birthday approaching, I've recognized that it would be prudent to begin winnowing down the size of the collection. To that end, I've sold about 20 cameras, but my problem now is that all of the other 50 or so that remain are very special, and it's not easy deciding what else I should deacquisition. Perhaps a conversation with Kat Landrigan will provide some clarity, but ultimately, I'll have to make some tough decisions at some point. I gently lift my 1848 American daguerreotype camera from its wooden tripod and set it on my desk next to my original Kodak circa 1888. In some ways, I view these 2 cameras as the alpha and the omega of my collection, with the daguerreotype representing the earliest commercially practical photo process, and the Kodak being the very first roll film camera. Trying to comprehend all the different cameras and photo processes that occurred during that 40-year span is tough, because the world went nuts for pictures, and major innovations occurred frequently. Each advancement in technology and photochemistry that came along gave millions of people the opportunity to own inexpensive portraits and see pictures of places that they'd only heard about. Isn't it curious how new technologies often have a way of democratizing our culture? I'll leave the pros and cons of new technologies to far brighter people than I am. I place the daguerreotype camera and Kodak back on their dusty perches as my eyes and mind wander over other treasures that I've acquired. Then my phone rings. Hello, this is Nathan. Nathan, hello, it's Kat Landrigan from Wesley Auctions returning your call. How are you doing? I'm doing very well, thank you, Kat. It's been a while since we've spoken. I trust you've been keeping busy. Yeah, very busy, especially preparing for our major auction in November. Wow, sounds like a lot of interesting work, so you obviously got my message. Do you think we can schedule some time for you to stop by my place and view my collection? Of course we can, Nathan. I recall you previously mentioning that you own a very special camera collection, and after receiving your voice message, I went to your website and saw several intriguing examples, definitely enough to get me excited. We chat a little bit more as we both check our schedules and agree that we'll meet at my home later that afternoon. Great, I've got directions to your house, and I'll see you then. So we've introduced Kat Landrigan, and we've introduced that wonderful Nathan Andrews. I'm after your job as the, never mind. It's hard to pick out what you want to read about, and it may be even harder still to sit there and listen to somebody drone on from their book, but I hope this is making some initial sense to you about the two main characters. The interesting thing about characters, and honestly as a writer, I don't think the plot or the storyline interests me nearly as much as creating characters and creating dialogue. And I've learned a lot about doing that over the last 11 books. I try to be more conversational in my, in the dialogue. I try to use more contractions rather than it being stilted with, which messes with the cadence, And so it's the characters that I really, really enjoy a lot. Can I go on a little bit more? Mm-hmm. So Kat is on her way. Do you want to leave now? Should I leave you?
I'm kidding.
She's not kidding. We'll talk. So Kat is on her way out to see Nathan, all right? My drive in the countryside heading toward Nathan's home provides me with a welcome break in my day. The sun is shining brightly with large billowing cumulus clouds looking like stout sailing ships navigating an azure blue sky. The autumn leaves have reached their full color, and most of the corn and bean fields have been harvested. Large round bales of hay populate the fields, looking like chess pieces scattered along the landscape. Autumn in Putnam County is a delight to behold, and very reminiscent of scenes I've witnessed over time in lands in Europe and the Americas. I see one field strewn with haystacks rather than the usual square or round bales, and it instantly propels my memory back to seeing a young French painter named Monet, with his easel and paints capturing what he sees onto canvas. Ah, those were the days when my friend Henri and I would tour the countryside in his carriage, stopping here and there, picnicking, drinking wine, and making love here and there. I sigh wistfully at the recollection, recover from my reverie, and then promptly turn on to County Road 250 North. 3 minutes later, I see Nathan's name on his mailbox by the road and turn into his gravel driveway. For some reason, I instantly feel a sense of connectedness. Kind of like being connected to a supernatural Wi-Fi with energy streaming cohesively from all directions. I'm not exactly sure what it means because I've not experienced anything quite like this before. But it feels reassuring rather than harmful. My elfin senses regard this place and time as where I'm spiritually meant to be. I step outside of my car and my feet seem to float above the gravel driveway. I'm concerned that Nathan is going to come outside right now to greet me, and I'm going to look like I'm in a wacko trance. Sure enough, I no more finish that thought that I hear when I hear, "Hey Kat, you made it." Fortunately, my elfin logic allows me to keep my composure. "Hey Nathan, great place you have here. You and your wife must love the peace and quiet." "Yeah, it's where we want to be, although Marla's away teaching yoga right now." I gotta put her in the book, otherwise she'd never read any of this stuff. And returns in a couple of days. Before entering his home though, the two of us stand quietly in the driveway, eyeing each other. Nathan's eyes take in Kat's form and shape. She's pretty and trim, but not slight, he observes. She appears strong and athletic. She has honey-colored shoulder-length hair, untethered, and a broad, cheerful smile. But it's her eyes where he notices something most unusual about her. They sparkle brightly in a youthful way, but he also senses something far deeper. They are eyes that seem to have experienced much, that have witnessed all the good, bad, and indifferent about humanity. It's surprising and confusing at the same time. As I look at Nathan, I initially assume that he just wants to form a solid impression of who I am, since we really don't know each other very well. But I see that it goes deeper. As our eyes connect,
I'm sorry.
that's all right. Tell them they're $15 each and they can buy as many as they want. As our eyes connect, I sense that each of us is scanning the other, forming opinions, showing curiosity, trying to plumb each other for trust. I sense that Nathan is an honest man, one who's figured out how to live life on his own terms as much as possible. He's physically good looking in a senior citizen sort of way. And he's supposed to be good, and he appears to be bright and good natured. I intuit that Marla is a lucky woman to live with such a fellow. But I digress. Well then, Kat, come on in and we can begin my version of the magical mystery tour, as John Lennon might have said. I smile to my elfin self, thinking that Nathan doesn't have a clue about magic or mystery, and I hope to keep it that way. Strictly auction business. Okay. Don't leave yet. The moment I step inside Nathan's office, I feel the same sensation as I did on the driveway, as if my feet have lifted a few inches off the ground. A lightness of being. Wow, I say aloud. Kat, why don't you take a few minutes to privately look at the cameras? I sometimes find that when I bring someone up here, I immediately start talking, and I'd rather not distract you with my banter. I need to check on something downstairs, and then I'll be back. Thanks, Nathan. This is a lot to take in. Nathan leaves his office, and my eyes begin to do what they've always done when I'm first surveying a collection. I look for the most impressive pieces, and I don't have to look far, because sitting on a period wooden tripod, I see a very rare American daguerreotype circa 1848, standing next to a Louis daguerreotype half-plate, next to a stunning French daguerreotype, each in immaculate original condition. From there, I look at cameras on shelves that I've only ever seen in books and museums, never in a private collection. How much more am I going to read of this? I need a nap. Thank you for laughing. Nathan returns. This is quite impressive, Nathan. Do you mind sharing some details about these? I have the time if you do. Of course, Kat. It's not every day I get to talk about these cameras with a knowledgeable professional. Well, thank you for that. No doubt your vintage cameras provide stories that I'm eager to understand. There's something about them that calls to me. I look at Nathan and see that he's looking into my eyes again, seeming to plumb my soul, searching for my sincerity about something so meaningful to him. We spend the next hour getting further acquainted and talking about individual cameras and the kind of services that Wesley Auction House provides. Nathan finds that Kat represents her firm very well, offering clear, concise information about the auction process and how Wesley would promote any cameras he might be willing to consign for sale. I tell him about the upcoming auction of early American photography and ephemera in November, and mentally Nathan makes a note to decide which cameras he might be willing to part with. It's a tough decision though, because he owns great pieces. Nathan and I talk more. Bear with me. Bear with me. Here, Kat, check this out. As he hands her a stunning scenograph camera, made in France around 1879. It's like a souffle. It's a view camera whose bellows isn't the typical leather. but made of green silk with bright gold lettering. As I hold it, I instantly feel my body and mind change. I say nothing at first, just wanting to comprehend the mystical sensations I'm feeling. Then I say, it feels alive to me. That's great, Nathan laughs. I get pretty excited myself. No, I'm serious, Nathan. I close my eyes and the scenograph seems to transport me in time to when this camera was actively used in the 1880s. As if in a virtually real hologram, I visualize a lively Parisian street scene with people on foot and in carriages. I even hear voices and laughter. It's fascinating in its realness. I'm not sure how much time has passed when I hear Nathan's voice. Earth to Kat. Come in, Kat. I hear his jocular words hanging in the air. Oh, sorry, Nathan. I seem to have gotten a bit caught up in this camera. Nathan looks at me curiously and then directs my attention to a shelf displaying other rarities. And unbeknownst to Nathan, each time I touch one, I'm briefly transported back in time and get glimpses of the photographer, his subjects, and their locations. I've never experienced anything like this before, and it's everything I can do to maintain my composure and carry on a reasonably intelligent conversation with Nathan. I look at my watch and see that I've already spent nearly 2 hours with Nathan, but given my virtual mystical experience with the green silk scenograph camera, I'm very curious how many of Nathan's other cameras can act as portals to a time when the camera was actually used. Even after centuries as an elf, I'm pleased to know that new and unexpected surprises can still occur, and I'm excited by what might come next. I look at my watch again and say, as much as I'd love to spend the rest of the afternoon learning about the unique characteristics of your cameras, I promised my staff I'd return to help them prepare for the November auction. One of the things that I also learned is that it's the villain that defines the heroes. And this jerk of a curator in Hartford, Connecticut, he had long white hair, mid-50s, pulled back into a ponytail, full beard, all white, pale blue eyes, and this surly sneer that was on his face. Maybe that's just the way I prefer to remember him, and that's probably it. But can I read you a little bit about him? It won't take long. Meanwhile, some 60 miles away, a solitary figure enters the basement of the Indianapolis Visual History Museum and walks toward his office. The nameplate on his door reads, Dr. Mortimer Gleep. Curator, photo history and ephemera. He unlocks his door and lightly buffs his nameplate with his handkerchief, then enters his inner sanctum. He hangs his moth-eaten tweed jacket on a hook and stands in front of a mirror. His reflection startles even him. His scraggly white hair and unkempt white beard make him look far older than his 50 years. But it's his pale blue eyes, ashen complexion, and surly sneer. You gotta do a song named The Surly Sneer. Surly sneer that are the most unsettling. He takes a puff from his albuterol inhaler and continues. Screw them all, Mortimer grumbles to himself, and especially those rich patronizing collectors and dealers. Screw them all, I say. I've dwelled in professional anonymity in the bowels of this dusty, allergen-filled museum for far too long. It's time to make a statement. Then his sneer morphs into a haunting grin. There's an auction and reception coming up, and I must make plans for it. Okay, you can go away. Anyway, so Mortimer Gleep. It's a story about Nathan and Kat forming this great relationship. It's about this nasty curator who is really, really hell-bent on creating destruction in downtown Greencastle and dashing their hopes and dreams at this reception that is going to occur, that does occur, the night before the actual auction in November. And you gotta buy their book in order to figure out what comes next. That's it. Again, I write to entertain myself, and I hope you enjoy it. So. Doc's Inn is in it. You gotta go to the Doc's Inn. Greg and Kara, just drive by their house. They're always making out. When he's not getting stung by bees, Greg is a beekeeper. I don't know. What else should I say?
Are you taking questions?
Sure.
Do you,
Okay, first of all, I have read the book. It is a page turner, so it's worth whatever exorbitant price might be charged for.
I gave him a free copy, by the way.
Yes. And it was worth every cent. No, it's really good. The names, I told you, the Mortimer Glebe.
Glebe.
Yeah, it was like a Dickens thing. Did it just come to you? Did you agonize over it? Did you think of many different names, or was it just like, that's it?
It's a great question. I like the name Mortimer because it's literary. So, who was the actor way back when? Huh? No, the actor, it'll come to me, but he was famous actor. Yes, money's like, who was it that talked like that?
W.C. Fields?
W.C. Fields.
Yeah.
So W.C. Fields was a drunk, and he didn't trust anybody. So he put his money in very small banks all across America. And he would come up with different pseudonyms for the bank accounts. One was Edgar Sousay, which was spelled Souse. But another one was Cuthbert Gleep.
Huh.
And so I've always loved the name Gleep. In fact, when you and I went, before we ever started to cook, 22 years ago down in Louisville, we took a weekend getaway, and I called and made a reservation for a really nice restaurant. And they asked for the name, and I said, Cuthbert Gleep. So when we got there, no, on the phone she said, how do you spell it? So that's where that comes from. And I just added Mortimer because Cuthbert was already taken. In terms of, what else? Other questions?
Yeah, I'm thinking, but so it came pretty easily for you, and you drew you liked Mortimer and you liked
Gleep.
And those two go together.
Incidentally, Eric's in the book also. He plays cello at the reception the night before the auction is supposed to occur. On more than one occasion, he has said to me, couldn't you give me a bigger role in the story? Truth be known, I've written him into probably 5 books.
I actually also agree with you. When I walk around or interact with this community, and I've lived in Los Angeles for 16 years, there's so many characters. I wish I could write. I mean, we're just like overflowing with them. And I appreciate character in people. If they're boring, I don't like they're the evil person. How do you choose which ones to write? I mean,
it's just coming out of the ether.
Do you just chuckle when you make this stuff up?
I
mean,
do.
I just laugh when you said, okay, more Glee.
I do.
You know,
Can
she's
you
laughing
imagine how
and enjoying
much
it, you know?
Stephen King and all the thrillers, he's gotta be laughing his ass off as he's writing all this scary stuff, thinking, this is gonna freak people totally out.
Greencastle's enough character for like 25 books.
You got a while to go. Yeah.
I don't know, this may be, every time I finish a book, I say to Marla,
This is the last one I'm gonna write.
Welcome to my life.
be happy to answer any other questions or not. But I want to thank you all for coming. Hope, thank you again.
Of course.
And, you know, maybe we can make the poster bigger next time. We could put it on the, you know, we could put it on the side of what do you call it, the dandelion?
The dandelion. Yeah. You should come do this at back in the dandelion, but we'll require either a turtleneck or a cigar jacket.
Yes.
Even though it's like 100 degrees outside.
Can it be a hash pipe? No.
We're not picky.
Joanne, did you hear any of that at all?
Yes, I did.
I hope it was worth coming.
It's a little hard to follow.
Well, the beginning especially, you know, when Marla was confused when she read it at the beginning because she thought I was going to be talking about Nathan Andrews rather than Kat Landrigan, and you know.
What research did you do in the romantasy genre? Because you know that's exploding right now. It's a huge deal.
What's it?
Romantasy.
Romantasy, it virtually saved Barnes and Noble brick and mortars.
What's romantic?
That is true.
Romantic fantasy.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
You wrote about an elf. Was that a conscious choice?
Well, because Katie Landrigan Horseman in Cincinnati has these elfin features, and I just thought, yeah. So I was thinking about an elf, and I thought, you know, you gotta have a little bit of supernatural stuff going on just to keep it fun.
I agree.
You know,
Huh.
Wait until you find.
Welcome to my world.
Sarah J. Ross is this really famous romantasy author who's made like millions.
Fantasy romance.
Yes.
Ooh.
It's I'm happy with the story. You know, I never claimed to be the greatest writer under the sun. It's never been my goal. What I want to do is just let it flow. Let's see the curious thing to me as a writer is when you sit down to this tabula rasa, this blank page, what comes out?
Hmm.
And if you waited a couple of hours later, would the same story come out? Or would it be totally different?
No.
I think it would be different.
Yeah.
You know, it's a stream of consciousness. It's and so I've given up a long time ago. I gave up trying to make it in the big time. You know, it's which is fine. You know, I'm a happy guy. You know, and living in the middle of absolutely nowhere, Indiana, like you do, right? My dad was a college professor and a great painter, a great artist. And he said to me, I remember just going back into my teens, learn to entertain yourself. Learn to be alone with yourself. And, well, basically that. So, where it goes from here, Lord only knows. Yes, sir.
One last question, again about your creative process. So you were talking about stream of consciousness. I know I've heard authors say sometimes they have a very clear outline. It's kind of like they know that the beginning, the middle, and the end, and then sometimes the characters take on a life of their own while they're writing it and the story goes in another direction. how much of the overall plot were you conscious of when you actually started writing it? And did you start writing at the beginning?
I did start writing at the beginning. And the honest answer to your question, Eric, is I have never used an outline in my life. What I'll do is thoughts will come to me and I'll make notes. But in terms of putting together a structure, I don't want to do that. I want to just let it flow, write what comes to my mind, get it down, and then you can go back and tweak it as you wish. But in terms of creating a structured approach to it, I don't want to do it. It's just, it doesn't come naturally to me, you know?
So
Do composers do it? Do they?
Well, it depends on the composer, I think. But just going back to you, and I won't do any spoilers, but there's some very dramatic scenes. Did they? Oh, that's interesting that that's happening. I know when I'm improvising music, sometimes it's a total surprise, especially if I'm improvising with somebody else and we're responding to each other, and or were you kind of aware of the, you know, the biggest dramatic moments, or did they kind of come to you during the process somewhere?
If they came largely during the process,
Yeah.
but I may have had some inklings about.
Yeah.
I knew the kind of turmoil I wanted to have, but what that was exactly going to look like, I wasn't quite sure until I got in medias res, in the middle of things, you know. And,
Do you write, have you ever worked on more than one book at the same time? I mean, do you ever get stuck and then work on one and then?
it's a good question. No.
You just
In writer's block, I don't really believe in writer's block. It's like, again, Patterson said, he was asked, well, what do you do when you get to writer's block? I said, what do you mean? It either flows or it doesn't. And if it doesn't flow, wait a while and come back to it, and just don't get, discouraged or discombobulated because you've reached and there have been plenty of times in the books that I've written that I'm going, where do I want to go next with this story? I'm not quite sure. And if I go away and come back a few hours later or the next morning or whatever, I write several pages and it just works out. Do you get writer's block when it comes to your songs?
Yes.
And?
I have a song about an armadillo. that I started writing for my grandchildren about 15 years ago. And it didn't get very far. And then I read an article about how armadillos are invading Indiana.
They are?
And a week later I came across those notes about that song about an armadillo. And that took me back to finishing this song.
Greg has written some of the greatest songs that Marla and I really enjoy. One of his favorite titles that I love is "Skinny Dipping with an Alien." But he and Kara perform together. Kara plays. Hey, you do great. She plays mandolin, and Greg plays guitar and harmonica. And how many other musicians in the room besides Micah and Caitlin and Greg and Eric and Kara? Anybody else playing music?
I sing. Does it count?
You sing?
I sing. Does it count?
Really?
Yes.
Yeah, of course it counts. I think voice is an instrument, don't you?
Mm-hmm. So.
As many of you may know, John Lobbin is a great photographer. Francis too. This lady right here, Elizabeth Burnt, is an illustrator and creates some of the most wonderful
No, stop.
It's true. Do I tell you that all the time?
Yes, you do. You do.
AI has fun with them.
No, AI does have fun with them. I consider it a tool.
I don't want to keep you from something more important. or not. But it's I don't know. When I write a book, there's a firm in Phoenix that I've used for all 11 stories. And they do all my interior layout and design. We work together on cover design. They do my proofreading. And I've noticed there's a couple places that we could have improved on as I was reading. You know, it's just part of the reality of it all. And then when I have the books printed, and they're all on Amazon and worldwide booksellers. But when I get my first copies from my printer, and I turn around in my office, and I put it on my little table with my other books, I feel like the process is completed. And then I contact Hope, and I don't know, you know, I got no business standing up here talking about my stuff. But that's another part of the closure of the process. And now I got to come up with another story that's got, you know, 100 chapters devoted to Eric Edberg in there.
That's over for me now.
How long? I write pretty quickly. It probably took me, this is a little bit shorter. This is only 170 pages, 60. It takes me 3 or 4 months to write it, and then another 3 or 4 months to get the, you know, working with my designer and printer. And there was a couple of years there where I was cranking out 2 a year. I felt like the Henry Ford of fiction. But I don't know. Marla, what else should I talk about that I haven't talked about? Are you done?
Yeah, well, it's time to go. It's 7 o'clock.
I adore her. But
However.
okay. You want any copies? Yeah, I can be persuaded to sell a few, you know. And I'll be happy to inscribe. So I'm gonna thank you all for that. How'd I do?